Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes, it's Kathy Colaiacovo, and I hope you are ready to talk strategies for speaking as we continue this series about ways to get the most ROI possible from events and conferences that you attend as part of your business or your practice. Today, we're going to focus on 12 strategies or easy ways, because they are easy, I'll be honest, that you can plan to get more leads and more clients when you are speaking. Now, I bet many of you listening just thought to yourself, well, I'm not a speaker, so this podcast episode won't apply to me, and you're going to hit the stop button right now on your player. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Keep this one playing because I disagree with your opinion that you're not a speaker. As business and practice owners, we all speak for our business at one time or another. And this lesson that I want to share today is focused on strategies for when you have the stage and you're speaking at an event. Any type of event, small event, big event, local event, global event. Even if all you have is a 10-minute presentation at your local networking and breakfast group, you are speaking. And there are still actions and strategies that you can take to get leads and clients and as much ROI as possible, even from those 10 minutes. And I'll tell you, way back when I started my business in 2008, I was going to a weekly business breakfast club. And I did get leads and clients from my time with them. And it was not always from the referral networking we did. Sometimes when it was my turn to do a 10-minute talk, because we all took turns doing a presentation of sorts. And I will say that breakfast club back then, it really helped me get out of my shell when it came to doing my elevator pitch and speaking in front of people. So if you can find some sort of business networking breakfast club, I encourage that a lot. Because sometimes what would happen is during that 10-minute of talk that I would do, the things that I would say could drastically change the ROI that I was getting from that business networking event more than if I didn't plan on some of the things to do, which I always did plan out. So you do not have to be a paid keynote speaker to benefit from today's lesson. It's all about marketing strategies geared to speaking at any type of event. Now, this is the fourth episode in this series I've been doing, which is all about getting more ROI from events and conferences. We started with episode 103, which is a key one. It's the foundation for all of this. It's all about the 3 things to do before attending any event or conference. So the 3 things that you want to make sure you're doing is setting your goals, planning your actions, and tracking your ROI. In episode 104, we started covering the actions for attending the event. The first episode was all about setting the goals. 104, 105, and today's episode are all about actions you can do when you're attending an event, when you're sponsoring or exhibiting at an event, or today's topic is when you're speaking at an event. And the strategies and actions that we're going to talk about are all geared to help you get leads and clients from your time at the event, and more importantly, from the talk or presentation you give when you're speaking. Because in that moment, when you are speaking, you're the expert in the room. People are listening to you. And this is why it is so important that you plan what you will do in order to get the most from that moment in the spotlight. Plus, if you're like me at all, in that speaking moment, you're half excited, half filled with anxiety, half ready to run out the door, and that makes up for way more than one full you. And it's often why we forget these VIP actions that help us get the leads and the clients from our presentation or our talk. And this is why the planning is so critical. You don't want to skip anything, and you don't want to end up with those post-event regrets. So if you are all set, we're going to dive into these 12 easy ways that you can get more leads and clients when you're speaking at events. And by the way, I will have these 12 ways, these marketing strategies and actions for you listed out on the show notes page for this episode. So if you're walking about in the park right now or listening on the go, no worries. You'll find the list and links to the other episodes in the series on that show notes page. You'll see the link under wherever you're listening to the podcast today. I'll be honest, I'm a list maker. I have been from day one of my life, which is why I'm always planning, but it has helped me well and it has helped me succeed over the years. So I hope this list today helps you out too. So the first strategy and action we want to think about is very similar to the ones we had as attendees and sponsors or exhibitors. You've got to know your audience. You need to understand who will be attending. And you want to do this in this case because you want to make sure you're tailoring your presentation, some of your talk, to their needs and interests. So you need to ensure as well as you're doing your talk, you're seeding some of your services, your programs, or your products within your talk by using examples and stories that will fit the audience. So you always want to know your audience. Number 2 is you want to make sure you stick to your time limit. And I'm going to tell you, this is one that a lot of people do not do. You want to respect the event planners and your audience by being well prepared. I have been to so many events where the speaker was not prepared at all. And I really learned this well when I was going to the Matrix events that I did this with for about 3 years. I would go to Toronto, Ontario in Canada. And I was one of the experts that Bob Proctor brought into his Matrix students that would come there for a week and work with him. So when we were there, we had 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes to do a presentation to all the new people in the audience who may want to work with us. When you only have 5 to 7 minutes, you really learn how to stick to your time limit. So I think it is key that you practice your presentation, you time it, you stand up and practice it in front of a mirror, pretend you're in front of an audience, get an audience if you need to. And if you have a very specific time and you're not sure, you've got to make sure that you're fixing the presentation, that you're putting some time into making sure that whatever you do, say, and how you talk fits within your allotted time. Number 1, it will help you avoid skipping over content or rushing through your offer. We've all been there. People do it. They're like, oh, the time is almost up. I have 5 minutes left. Oh no, what am I going to do? And then they start going a little fast and they're like skipping over content, rushing through the offer and missing out on key parts. So that is something that you want to make sure, stick to your time limit, because then you'll be leaving a positive impression on the event planners and the audience. Number 3 in this list is making sure that you follow the event rules for offers and pitches. So you need to make sure you fully understand the guidelines on what you're allowed to do when it comes to making an offer to the audience and how you can pitch to them, what you have for the options to be able to do that. You don't want to do it if you're not allowed to do it. And if you are allowed to do it, you want to plan and make sure you have a clear and concise offer. Typically, you're going to want to have this at the end of the presentation. Again, the rules come into play. How you talk, what your presentation is about, how you do it will come into play. But the big thing I want to warn you here is if you are coming in to speak, to teach, to share something, to share a message, a lesson, whatever it is, do not oversell versus sharing good content, okay? People will be turned off by this, and you will be leaving a very negative impression on people. I was at an event this year, and there was an event app that we were using. And during one presentation, people were actually posting comments for this one speaker that said things like, I thought we were going to learn how to do XXX, not how to click and buy this guy's program. And I was in the audience. I was there, and I had to write XXX here on my notes for this podcast. because I don't remember what the guy was even talking about, because I was the same way. He taught us nothing except that his program that we could buy, that he kept telling us over and over on how we could buy it, was how we could do what he was talking about. I remember nothing about it other than I never want to be that guy and overselling versus sharing good content. Number 4 is making sure you engage your audience and you keep them from falling asleep. Okay. There's lots of ways that you can do this. I like to make sure I have a handout that people can use and take notes on during the presentation. You can often create something like this, bring it and print it, depends on the size of the audience. And if you're talking virtually or in person, if you are in person, I do like to bring it and have it printed to hand out. And you want to make sure if you're going to do this, you treat it like a lead magnet of sorts and include your brand, your info on it, a way to contact you, a call to action, a consult, let them know they can book that, or if you have an offer. Okay. And we'll talk about the offer in a minute in one of the next ways that you can get more leads and clients. The other thing I like to do with this kind of handout is make sure there's something on it where they can write down notes from your presentation or put things that might apply to them based on what you're talking about. It becomes a tool for them to use. And that is an ideal way to keep them engaged. The best kind of handout is also the kind that they can use now in the moment during the talk, but also when they return home. So if you can have something that they can use and put up on their wall or put up in their office when they get back home, whatever it is, that's a really good kind of handout too, because you're keeping yourself and your name in front of them because you did treat it like a lead magnet and you've put all your information on it. Now, if you are a speaker who has a book, an ideal way to mention your book and keep people engaged as well is to give away a copy of the book to people who might participate and interact when you ask for questions from the audience. So that's a really good way to keep people paying attention, keep them interactive, and it's kind of selling your book without you overtly selling your book. So you always want to mention your book, that you're an author, in the bio you give them or the introduction. So when you have a book, you can kind of talk about it in this way without being very salesy about how you're doing it. So it's a really good way to do that. And if you do have a book, you can also have a handout that relates to the book and kind of put them out there so that the people who didn't get a book at least get a handout that talks about something in your book. If you have a book, probably your talk and your presentation is all related to that too. Now, this year in my Thrive Marketing Academy, I'll say that I've had several members who had opportunities to speak at events and conferences. They're kind of part of the inspiration for this series, to be honest. But most of them, or a lot of them, had some handouts too. So I've actually asked them to provide me with some of their handouts that they used, and I will put samples of those on the show notes page so you can get an idea of what some of these handouts I'm talking about look like and maybe inspire yourself for what you could do for your own next speaking event and have your own handout that you can use to keep people engaged. So you'll find those on the show notes page, and there's a link to that wherever you're listening into the podcast. Number 5 on this list is, of course, having a plan to get leads. Now, when you're speaking at an event, if you don't have a booth, sometimes you'll have a booth or not. If you do, definitely pay attention to episode 105 from last week that will give you ideas about what you can do at your booth. But if you're a speaker and there is no booth, I still like for you to plan to get leads, and having a giveaway or a draw is a really good way to do this. So ideally, the prize you put out there should lead to your offer or your services in some way. Like, don't make it a camera because everybody wants a camera. I don't need you for the services to win the camera. So you always want to make it something fitting to your offer. And by the way, it doesn't have to cost as much as a camera might. And who even gives a camera away? I don't know why I use that as an example, because very few people have cameras anymore. Although my cousin Joanne did have her camera out at the family gathering recently. So you just want to have something that you can give away so that you can take a basket around to the audience and collect business cards, or make sure you're having ballots that they can fill out as well. And virtually, you could have them type their name or email in the chat box if you want. And when you have someone taking that basket around, or if you're doing it yourself, I like you to have somebody to help you. Always ask somebody to help. They will. Everybody always helps. But this is your time that you can talk about the prize. So you can talk about what it is. And that's a way for you to be helping the audience. You're doing the giveaway and giving them some information too. Always make sure they know if they put their name or their business card in that you're going to add them to your email list if they enter the draw. You can tell them if they don't want to, fill out that ballot that you made. And you really want to have those on hand because you need to be prepared for people without business cards too. So that's why I like having the ballots. And on the ballots, you could just say, if you don't want to get my email or my newsletter, just fill out the ballot instead of putting in a business card. And then they can untick or say, no, I don't want your newsletter on there. I always let them know they can unsubscribe at any time. And you want to present your email or your newsletter with like something that's filled with awesome tips that expand on what you teach and are talking about today. Now, number 6 is I'd like you to consider offering a time-limited deal when you have a paid offer. So this is where you might have a service, you might have something that you offer, a program or a product. Give some sort of deal that has a time limit, ideally at the end of the event, so that if people want to get it during the conference, during the event, during the talk, you've got a deadline and they know that this bonus, the discount, whatever it is, has to be signed up for before XX date. Now, the incentive here, the bonus, it does not have to be money off. You can get creative and give some extra bonuses versus taking money off your deal. It's up to you how you do it, but ideally have a time limit to whatever this offer is. And if you need a consult first for people to sign up, so I do a call for the Thrive Marketing Academy. So people can sign up, but I don't have a link on the website. I want to talk to them first and make sure the academy is a good fit. So if your service is set up in that way, then what you can do is hold that time-limited offer until they have the consult with you. But they have to book the consult before the end of the event. So it turns out the consult becomes the time-limited part there, and you'll hold the offer for them. At the most I do that for is a couple weeks. Don't hold it for months though. Okay, so book your call with me now before the end of tomorrow, and I'll make sure that I hold that deal for you as long as you book that call within the next 2 weeks. And of course, you want to have some open spots that you can book a lot of calls during the next 2 weeks. So number 7 on the list here is that when you're looking to collect leads by speaking at an event, offer a bonus resource or a lead magnet to download. So yes, you do have the bonus offer, but you can also offer something that is not a paid offer. You can offer what we would call almost like a lead magnet. So you can give an extra bonus worksheet or resource or supplementary information sheet related to your topic. This could do a little more than the handout we talked about before. It could also be the handout if you don't want to print handouts and have them, take them to the speaking event either. Ideally, you only want to make this available to people who sign up for your email list. So this is like a lead magnet, but very specific to the event. And one easy way to do this is if you already have a lead magnet, maybe just use that or make it to fit something that's very specific or create something specific to this speaking topic. I promise you that if you go to these speaking events with a plan to collect leads, you will collect some new leads, but you have to be ready to do it because it's not like you can always just say, oh, send me your information. You can do that, but if you have an email marketing system and all of that set up, one of your main foundations for marketing your business or your practice, then we get into number 8 on this list of ways to get more clients and leads is to use a special landing page for that resource or for the offer. And so when you create a special page on your website for this, it lets you speak to people about the event even afterwards or as they're looking to buy or sign up with you. So I always like to make a special landing page just for the event so I can say on it, thanks for taking part in the XXX conference. Be sure to get the resources and handouts listed below. I may have just made a copy of my regular page for that off the website, but I've made the reference to the event. It just hits home better with people, and it helps you really kind of solidify that relationship with them so that they understand, oh yeah, I saw Kathy because we were at that event in Ottawa. And, when you make that reference to that on the landing page, it just connects the dots a little more because they may be coming there after they've gotten home after the event as well. So always make sure that you reference that event somehow on the landing page, but also through the email follow-up as well, if you can do that. And the best thing you can do here is make it easy for the audience to access this offer or to book a call with you by having all of that information on that special landing page. I typically do it based on the city or the event. So I was talking in Ottawa one time. I had a landing page for that event of pepperitmarketing.com/Ottawa. Number one, it's easy for me to remember to say out loud. Number two, it makes reference to what that was. And I always know on the back end of my website what that particular page was for. So let's move into number 9 here. Here's where we talk about if you have a higher price paid offer, the kind like I was talking about where I always do a consult first. Number 9 is to consider offering at the event free consults in person with you for that higher price paid offer. So maybe you want to offer 15 or 20-minute one-on-one sessions. So basically do the consult in person. My podcasting business coach did this year at an event, and I thought it was brilliant. And I have copied that from him here. And I will tell you, that's exactly what I'll be doing the next time I do an event that is specific and I'm doing a talk that leads to the Thrive Marketing Academy. So here, what you want to do is find some sort of event space, like somewhere in the hallways or somewhere, just chairs in the corner. They're always around at hotels for conferences and events. And if you can meet them in real life when you're at an event in person, this is so much better. So all you have to do here is when you're talking, have your online booking calendar set up with a special link for that particular event and with times that you have set up that they could meet you at the event. And make sure it's all set up so that you've got good and easy scheduling. And maybe what you do is just simply book 2 hours or an hour one day, an hour another day, and offer a limited amount of sessions. This has a little bit of scarcity to it, so people will do it. And you can just let them know, keep it simple. Don't make it salesy. Like, if you want to book a consult with me to talk about the program, book the program. You want to be specific like that so people aren't just trying to pick your brain on a free consult, because in a time like this, you just don't have time to have that extra freedom. You want to really be pointed about it. And it also means you have to be very pointed of, we've got 20 minutes, 15 minutes, here we go, and keep to that time so you're not making people wait for you. Number 10 is to ensure you include a call to action slide in your presentation. So even if you have a minimal presentation, add some sort of slide that clearly states what you want the audience to do next. Maybe it's visiting the website, the landing page, signing up for the newsletter. Have a call to action there that is very visible, very prominent, and easy to follow. You can even include a QR code on this and tell people to click the QR code if they want to get all those resources, whatever it is. And then my biggest advice about this is do not leave at the end of your presentation if you have Q&A time. Do not put a slide up on the screen. You can put it up for a second that says Q&A, but then I want you to back up and put your call to action slide up there and leave that CTA slide up there while you're doing the Q&A. This way, as people are listening to you, it's still on the screen. They can scan the QR code. They can visit the website. They can see what you're talking about while you're answering questions. Number 11 is fairly easy to do, but a lot of people forget it. And it's something that I think can be magical sometimes when you're doing this during a presentation. And it's to make sure that you have some shareable content and savable content in your presentation. So what you want to do is when you have the presentation put together, try to have at least 1 or 2 slides that have really good content, maybe like an infographic or statistics or something like that. I have a slide that's very specific about how online marketing works and how it connects between Google or the search engines of the world, your website and the content you have on your website. And I always literally say to people, if all you take from this lesson is what you see on this slide, that's what I want you to do. And I will literally stop and tell them, I want you to stop here and take a picture of this slide. This is something that's important to remember. So really be clear about doing that and stop for a second and do it. It's okay to do that. You don't have to continually talk and teach when you're doing a speaking gig. And encourage people to take a photo, encourage them to share on social media, tag you if they want. If there's a hashtag to use, do it. So making sure you do this kind of extends your reach and helps position you as a thought leader as well. And the last thing, of course, is following up after the event with all of the leads and the connections you've made. Maybe they're connections that you just met people in person at the event or online if it's an online event. Maybe it's people that have signed up, they entered your draw, your giveaway. You need to remember to do the follow-up and connect with those people you met. Maybe you connect by one-on-one email for warmer leads or people you met with. If people book a consult with you at the event, you follow up with a one-to-one email. Don't use your automated newsletter for that, okay? Make sure that you personalize some of these messages and reference the event or your presentation. Maybe you have a really deep connection with somebody. That might be a phone call. You might use LinkedIn, okay? Don't skip the follow-up. The follow-up is the thing that is going to lead to more connections and more leads and more clients later on down the road. It is that kind of follow-up that led to me getting from that one event I was speaking about last week, where I had over $45,000 in income that came in over 3 years from the follow-up and the connections I made at the initial event. I didn't make all those sales on that day at that event. A lot of them came later on because I nurtured and followed up with people. Follow-up is key. And that is it. Those are the 12 easy ways that you can get more leads and clients speaking at events. They're actions and strategies that are geared to help you when you're in that moment, when you're speaking, to get more people connected to you in the way of leads on your email list or even clients working with you. And you want to be planning these long before you show up at the event, because that's how you're going to get more ROI from that speaking opportunity. And I really want to reiterate here that these actions and strategies can be adapted to any size event and speaking opportunity. Depending on what it is, you may not use all of them, but there are always some of these that you can use at even some of those business networking events where you get up and talk for 5 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever it is. Do not forget them. If you plan for them, you'll come home from those events happy and pleased with your results. You'll have some consults booked, you'll have more leads there, more people on your email list, and those are all people who could convert to clients, or they could refer clients to you as well. It's all about making some sales from these events and these speaking opportunities, because ultimately that is your ROI. Some way, somehow, a lead becomes a client, a lead becomes somebody who refers a client. There's all sorts of ways for this to happen. And when you speak at an event for a business reason, that is what you're looking for, a return on your time being at that event and speaking there, your time away from your office, away from your work. So if you don't plan for what you're going to do when you're speaking, and you don't plan the actions that you could be setting yourself up for not getting any of that ROI. Instead, you could make sure that leading up to the event and after the event and even before the event, you know exactly what to do so that you're not having the regrets on what you missed and what you forgot. And in some cases, depending on what you skipped or forgot, taking a hit on your reputation, your expertise. Because if you're the speaker who gets up there, ignores the time limits, and you didn't practice, you didn't prep, you'll be on the stage panicking, and you'll be the one saying, oh, I'm almost out of time. Rats. Okay, well, let's skip this slide and this one. Oh, yeah, maybe we'll cover this now. I'm not sure. All of a sudden, your speaking presence has changed, and that's not ideal. And you all know what I mean when I say all that. I'm sure everybody listening has seen this happen one time or another. When you have the stage, people want to hear you talk and learn from you. So if you're the one up there skipping things because you didn't plan for your time, you're making those of us in the audience wonder, are you really the expert? Because those actions make us doubt you. And you don't want to be the speaker that gets up there and ignores the selling and the pitching rules and ends up leaving everybody feeling like they just got slimed with the biggest sales pitch ever. You don't want them feeling like they were at a pitch competition when there was nobody else in the room competing, because there wasn't. You were the only person on stage speaking. Instead, you should be planning to share your expertise, give the value, but as you do all of that, you can be planning to get leads and sales from the people who are listening to you, who are in that audience. So, your action step from today's lesson is visit my show notes page on the website. You'll find that at marketingyourprivatepractice.com/106. And look for the list of strategies. I'll have them all listed out there, the 12 easy ways to get more leads and clients speaking at events. Print it out, take a screenshot, do whatever you have, and start using that list in your planning for the next time you speak at any size event. I want you planning to get some ROI there. And next week, I want you to get set for some ways that I'm going to share how you can track the ROI. I've been talking about it, track the ROI, get the ROI. But I want you to know how you're benefiting from your speaking opportunities, from your time at your events, from your sponsorship at the events, by knowing what the ROI is. So we'll be talking about tracking it next time. And that's it for today. This is Kathy Colaiacovo signing off and saying thanks for tuning in. I truly appreciate your listenership and your feedback as well. Keep those reviews coming in. If you want to send me a message about a topic to cover, I have a link where you can send me a quick voice message online, and that's on the show notes as well. And remember, to thrive in practice or business means being the speaker who has pointedly prepared to deliver a great talk. And at the same time, you're also making sure you're collecting leads that will convert into clients, because you did plan these specific actions and strategies that help you achieve that ROI you wanted when you said yes to that speaking opportunity in the first place. That's it for today, and I'll see you next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.